Hi, this is Carson Owens, FTT 122, section 52269. Today's date, September 14th, 2024, and this is week 6 video assignment.
I got the definitions to all these out of the textbook, but went through a lot of websites trying to understand them all. Vertical angles, from what I gathered in the textbook, is when you're shooting uphill or downhill, and incorrect estimation of distance occurs that makes it appear like the target is a certain distance away, but gravity will only work against the bullet for a fraction of that span. So if you're aiming for a 300-yard shot, it would miss high because gravity is only acting on the bullet for around 220 of those yards. The deflection seen firing from a vertical angle is always high, regardless of whether shooting uphill or downhill, and the effect is more prevalent at steeper angles. The next is trajectory and sights. The trajectory or path of a bullet in flight rises then falls in the shape of a parabola and crosses the line of sight twice. Your sights should be set to match that second crossing of the line. Gyroscopic drift is a phenomenon caused by the right-hand twist and barrel rifling, whose spin causes the nose of the bullet to veer slightly, impacting the target right of center. Transonic ballistic performance is when a projectile transitions from super to subsonic flight. The force of the drag decreases, forcing the center of pressure in the bullet to shift forward further away from the center of gravity. This further slows the bullet, increasing the time it must spend in the turbulence of the shock wave, which increases instability in the surrounding airflow. This resulting imbalance causes a wobbling of the projectile to occur. If the projectile is properly stabilized after coming out of this, the bullet will wobble for a moment and then recover. But if it's not properly stabilized, it will continue to wobble, causing it to drift off of its intended trajectory. Next is the Magnus Effect. Magnus Effect is where force from perpendicular crosswinds act on a spinning bullet by creating differences between its axis of symmetry and its axis of flight, causing the bullet's flight path to move in either an upward or downward direction, depending on the direction of the rotation of the bullet. If it has a clockwise spin, it'll cause a downward movement in the projectile. And if it spins counterclockwise, it'll cause an upward movement in the flight path. The Coriolis effect is an occurrence happening when a projectile is fired in a right angle to the Earth's rotation, either north or south. The deflection caused by the rotation will vary depending on whether shooting from the northern or southern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, the deflection will always be to the right, whether shooting from north to south or south to north. The opposite is true when shooting in the southern hemisphere, where the deflection will always be to the left, whether shooting south to north or north to south. The Eotvos effect causes bullet deflection in two ways, both along the vertical plane of its trajectory. The first effect is because we're on a round spinning planet, so when we're shooting east or west, the target rises or falls in relation to the projectile because of the curvature of the Earth. If you're firing to the west, the target will move toward the projectile and rise in relation to its trajectory, where the bullet will hit 2 inches low after 1 second of flight. If it's fired eastward, the target moves away from the projectile and falls in relation to its trajectory. So the bullet will hit 2 inches high after 1 second of flight. The second effect causing deflection is the Earth's centrifugal force. Projectiles fired in the same direction as the Earth's rotation, west to east, will impact higher than ones fired against it, because those traveling against it must work against the Earth's centrifugal force, which causes the bullet to drop more, therefore impacting lower.
And drag is the effect of that wind has on a bullet as it's going through the atmosphere. It acts on the bullet the whole time it's in flight.